Had something come up there, had to knock it out, and just getting settled in, dog issues, all that sort of stuff. But back on the live, and again, I'm going to say it again, Brazil was incredible. Awesome place. Go there, visit, check out Juquehi Beach, and enjoy the people because they were awesome. They were great hosts, and love that the NFL is going to Brazil. It's crazy how big that place is. Sao Paulo is gigantic. I think it's like the largest city outside of Asia. 26 million people, so crazy how packed in it is. But the fans were great. It was a cool international game, the same vibe that we got when we went to London or Mexico City, where, well, Mexico City was a little bit different, but London, you've got all 32 teams represented, and it was very much that way. You've got jerseys from every team imaginable, obviously with the Chiefs and the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff. That's a big deal. But it was great. The trip was great. Got a chance to catch up with the commissioner, chat with him about it, and sort of confirmed what I've always suspected, and I think he's probably said before, and that's that eventually you're going to have all 32 teams playing in an international game every year. There will be 16 international games. Next year it's going to jump to 8. It would not surprise me in the least if the Chargers are the team that they take with the Rams to Australia. They're clearly a marquee franchise in the NFL's eyes. Herbert's a star, Harbaugh's a star, Derwin's a star. They're star power. They play an exciting brand of football, especially with Herbert and the ability for explosive plays. And I could see, much like, look, last year the Chiefs were in Germany, this year they're in Brazil. So I could see the Chargers kind of being part of that sort of rotation where we're getting sent somewhere every single year. I'm sure for some that's not great. For others it's probably great. But it's cool to have the Chargers, be on that level, on that plateau. How was the flight? I'll get through all of your stuff. So if you want to leave comments, I'll just kind of go through a couple things that I observed, and then get into all that stuff. But I think the thing with kind of like with where was I at? The Bolts. How was the flight? I don't remember what I was saying. The international stuff. I think there's something to be said about being a team that can not only be, the Chargers and their Charger fan base here in Southern California, but also, nationally and internationally. And I think they're building toward that. And it's pretty exciting to be part of. So the game, start with this. The inactives took me by surprise. DJ and I talked about it in the pregame. The fact that Tucker Fisk and Aronde Gadsden were both inactive. They went with just 2 tight ends with Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin. And they kept all 6 receivers up. It's something that we've been talking about on Chargers Weekly and Believe that I did with Lorenzo, that, they're keeping 6, but can they really keep 6 active on game day? It just doesn't seem viable, and they did. And I think we talked about Marlo Wax. He was only special teams, but I think, Denzel was in a walking boot after the game, so Marlo might end up getting some run on Monday night against the Raiders. You saw Caleb Murphy out there, those guys that were on the back end of the roster. Caleb was a firm part of that rotation at edge, had a couple really nice plays. Kendall Williamson and those guys on special teams I thought played great. You saw Ja Taylor. I know Jasir took a lot of incoming for making the team, but I was talking to Coach Ficken after the game, and I said, what a heck of a play on that, that punt by Ja, and he's like, look, the guy's one of the best gunners in the league. It was a huge play. So there's one thing that I think maybe you might want to adjust just kind of on special teams, and kudos to Ryan Lovato, no issues with the long snapper and the operation on field goals and punts. But the one thing I think is probably figuring out if Hassan Haskins, I just realized this, stupid me. Let me see if I can get this to work. Is this working, everybody? Guys, give me a thumbs up, because I think this will sound a lot better than doing it on the microphone there. So if anybody is in there, if you can give me a quick comment that the microphone is still working now that I put the AirPods in, because I think the mic will be a little bit better than using one on the phone. So I see some hearts. I'm just going to assume it's okay, or else you're going to start telling me that it's not. Okay, thumbs up. Thank you, Robert. I think Haskins, probably going to have to figure that out, because it certainly seemed like Harrison Butker was picking on Haskins on those kickoffs. You have the dynamic Darius Davis, and Haskins, while great special teamer. He just takes a minute to kind of get that speed ramped up, and I think that's tough in the return game. So I think if there's one thing to take away from special teams, it's probably you're going to see maybe a different returner back there paired with Darius Davis. The game, as I mentioned, the idea that you have those two inactive and they're running 4 wide receivers out there, but the 3 were the 3, and that's what we talked about. Everyone's like, oh, is Trey Harris going to take the job from Q? Is Keandre Lambert-Smith going to take the job from Q? Well, through 2 games in the NFL, Quentin's the leading receiver in the NFL. He's 5 catches, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. He played a great game. I thought Greg Roman, Sanjay Lal, the wide receiver coach, deployed him perfectly. A lot of those crossers, getting him in space, allowing him to use his big body. The 1 touchdown was great on those rub routes that sprung him open. And then you just saw him pull away from that safety. I think it was Hicks that was covering him on that play. And you saw him use his tools and his talent. I was talking to Stacey Dales after the game, who was doing sidelines for YouTube. And I think a lot of people say this when they see Q for the first time. She's like, I didn't realize he was that big. Yeah, Q's big. He's a big dude. And so it's great to see. Also, Keenan, or Shannon Farron, who does sidelines, was talking to Keenan before the game, and he had told her just how much he felt like Q had grown since he left for that year in Chicago. And that's the thing too, is everybody loves him, man. People on that team love Quentin and want to see him do great things. So great start for him, man. The guy had 8 touchdowns last year and took all that incoming, and he's already off to a 5 catches on 7 targets, 2 touchdowns, 79 yards, averaging 16 per. How about Conklin, by the way? We talked about getting an explosive tight end. In that last Chiefs game, remember it was the Stone Smart game where we're like, here we go, let's get an athletic tight end. Herbert likes that as a target. And Tyler Conklin, 2 catches for 50 yards. And that's the other thing. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 players caught a pass. So you've got Najee and Trey and Will Dissly each had one, a huge one for Will Dissly to get that drive started, that 16-yarder. Or 18-yarder, it says officially. Amari Hampton, Najee with 1 each out of the backfield. But then it's really the 3 is the 3, man. And that's what it's going to be. Serge, I don't have an update on Perriman. But as I said, I think Daniel Papa reported that he was in a walking boot. So I feel comfortable reporting that as well, that he was in a walking boot. But yeah, you've got 10 targets for Keenan, 9 targets for Ladd, 7 targets for Quentin. Nobody else had more than 2. Those are your big 3 receivers. And if they continue to play like that, it's going to be one of the better trios in the league. And also, how about all the questions that we had, and a lot of people had in a negative way, about how are you going to have, why Keenan? Keenan and Ladd are repetitive. They both, sort of excel out of the slot. And man, Greg Roman did some really cool things with the 2 of them on the field at the same time. And I think it goes to show you that for all the 4-2 or 4-3 guys out there, for all the 6'3" and 6'4" guys out there, if you can run routes, that's going to be your best attribute. And Keenan can run routes, and Ladd can certainly run routes, and that's a problem for teams. And Keenan and Ladd, Herbert was 7 of 8 on 3rd down passing, 7 of 8 on 3rd down passing, and that is Keenan and Ladd territory, man. So. Other thing, the whole, and I'm drinking this. I'm drinking a True. So not doing a beer because it's 12:30 and I'm just not ready to do that. So this is a little one of those GABA things that gives you kind of a floaty sort of vibe. So I'm going to put that down. Let's see, what else can I get to? I had a cool little moment with Tier when I got back on the plane. He's one of my favorite guys. And he was just kind of waiting right when you stepped onto the plane from the jet bridge. And I just kind of looked at him, giggled a little bit, and he kind of laughed. And we had a little handshake, used some colorful language. And I'm excited for him, man. I think many of you may remember, if you watch Chargers Weekly and stuff, as soon as Miami let him go, I was like, that's a Chargers guy, man. That's exactly what they need in the middle of that line. And you see how disruptive he is. He's going to have a heck of a year. DJ talked about it on the broadcast. It's like once Mahomes made that adjustment to get the ball out quick, it's like you're not going to get to him, so get your hands up. And the guy ends up with 3 batted passes, sets the tone. Kelsey tries to pull his Kelsey BS and shove him after the play is long over, and little open hand slap, whop. What was that guy's name? Dave. Oh, you got to look that up. That's one of the better things. Hold on. I got to look it up so you guys can look it up, and you'll thank me for it in case you've never seen it. It is open hand slap wrestler. What was his name? Dave Schultz. Dave Schultz on Stossel. It's one of the great videos you'll ever see. It's an open hand slap. Stoked to see Tier not take any of that BS like Tucker had to take that BS from Kelsey. But hey, you know what? Turns out Tucker probably deserved that. So where was I? All right, let's get through it. And then I'm going to get to some of your comments. The stuff on Herbert's just stupid. People are stupid. I think everybody on this, those of us that are here doing this together know that the shade that's being thrown at Herbert is just ignorant. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. He might be in the conversation as the most talented from just a raw talent standpoint. And I think his most impactful play, look, the run when he recognized Chris Jones was being a lunkhead and tried to jump inside and come sack him instead of keeping contained and keeping him in the pocket. And, of course, Herbert being the academic Heisman winner when he was at Oregon, recognized it immediately, scrambled for those through the first down to end the game. But, yes, Ryan Clark is a moron. You're right, Millie. But maybe I shouldn't say that because I never played football, and apparently you have to play football in order to have an opinion about football. So I suppose I should never expect Ryan Clark to have an opinion on, I don't know, politics, schooling, neighborhood watch, policing, music, television shows, because, he's never done any of those things, so he's not allowed to have an opinion on that. But Herbert's most impressive play was unfortunately the run that got called back. It was a hold on Jamari when they had those back-to-back holds, one on Ladd and then one on Jamari. Man, that was vintage Herbert. That was that Herbert that we just never saw last year because of the plantar and the high ankle sprain. And that scramble he had when it was a 1st and 20 and he picked up like 23 yards, juked a guy, trucked 2 others, dove out of bounds at the 3-yard line. It would have been a 1st and goal at the 3 were it not for the hold on Sawyer. That's the Herbert that we wanted to see. 7 carries, 32 yards, used his legs, and was even really looking for it. There was that play that led to, I think it was on that final drive, where he thought he had the lane and he tried to climb in the pocket. Pocket was still clean, but he didn't see Tranquil lurking. And he was like, to heck with it, man. I'm going to take off and pick up 5 or 10 yards here on this 2nd and 11. And it ended up not working out. So that was great. Defensively, I thought the interior of the line was sensational, specifically Tier Tart. I thought Tito had a couple nice runs in there. The edges were great. Khalil Mack had a monster game. They really only got too aggressive maybe 1 or 2 times where, you're trying to get a little too upfield, and that allows Mahomes to peel out of there, whereas, you just got to keep him in there and force him to stay and operate in that little area so he can't get outside. And that's really ultimately what it came down to on the Chiefs for their offense. It was all just Mahomes scrambling. I mean, that was it. He had the 49-yard pass to Hollywood Brown, but it was his scrambling, 6 carries for 57 yards and the touchdown that really kept them in that game. Outside of that, they did not have much going on. I thought the defense did a good job, obviously, on that 49-yard heave on a 4th and 7. That was pretty frustrating, but that's what happens when you're Patrick Mahomes and you escape and you've got Khalil in pursuit. Your safeties are probably going to bite and come up a little bit because they're trying to prevent that 7-yard gain, and they just lost track of Hollywood Brown and gave up that explosive. But they responded, held him to a field goal, didn't let him get that touchdown. And one of the things that we said was how many times, well, not how many times, I can tell you exactly how many times, Herbert in the 7-game losing streak that is no longer, Herbert had a lead in the 4th quarter in 5 of them, and the defense couldn't hold it. So it was nice to see Herbert have the ball in his hands to end this game, as opposed to the defense trying to make the stop. It's the offense running a 4-minute drill, picking up 2 first downs to ice the game. I thought Amarian had a couple explosive runs. There was one where he hit the left edge that was like, okay, this is going to be fun. We're going to have a couple of these, and he's going to pop one of these for 60, 70 yards. And then he had one between the tackles where he absolutely trucked a linebacker. It's about an 8-yard gain. So that was fun to watch. I thought the offensive line played great. Joe Alt is, ridiculous. How that thing shakes out next year, we'll see. But Joe Alt's already in the conversation as one of the best left tackles in the league. Doing that to Chris Jones, just absolutely stoning him time and time again. The guy pitched a shutout. It was really impressive to see. And so when you think about the idea of Rashawn coming back and figuring out how you want that combo to work, how good of a run blocker Rashawn is, you put him on the right side with Mekhi Becton next year, you keep Alt at the left side. Whew. That was, Alt's something, man. And I think for all the people that are still hanging on to the whole Malik Neighbors thing, that thing's put to bed. That conversation is done. That plane is taken off. Anything else? Just going through the box score here. Trey Conklin we talked about. Derwin obviously had that huge hit in the backfield. Nearly had a sack. I'm trying to think of who he put that lick on, man, but that was fun to see. Let's see. That we talked about that. So I think that's pretty good. Pretty good for a little bit of an overview. I thought the coaches called a masterful game. I think Greg Roman deserves his flowers. The way he called this game was perfect. Look at Herbert. 318, nearly 10 yards per attempt, and a quarterback rating of 131.7. 3 touchdowns. The over-under on Herbert touchdowns this season was 21.5. I'd love to see what that is adjusted. It's probably going to be close to 30 now. So let's get to all you people. And I certainly appreciate you. I know there's not a lot of us in here. It's a Saturday morning. There's some college football going on. But we'll get through all of your money. Appreciate that. Let's go. That's kind of what I was saying. No IPA, not at 12:47 in the afternoon. I just got off a plane. I'm dragging ass a little bit. So I'm just taking it easy with my enhanced sparkling beverage with my GABA magnesium. And these give you a little bit of a woo kind of feeling too. Let's see. Huge win, Norm. I agree. Dude, they snap a 7-game streak. They're sitting on top of the AFC West. We talked about these first 3 games and what it might mean if you can win all 3 of them. So next up, Raiders on Monday night, Broncos at home. You run through that 3-0 and holy cow. Talk about feeling good about winning a division and getting a home playoff game. Robert, what's good? You're good. OC Boltdog still here. I don't know if you mean you're still in Brazil. Met a handful of yous who went down there. It was great to see all of you down there. It was really cool. My man Steve Van Dorn, who runs Vans, made the trip down. It was great to see him. Crash, we're so back. Great to see you in there, Crash. Welcome back. Yes, it's good to be home. It was a fun flight home. I slept almost the entire way there. I slept probably 6, 7 of the 11 hours back. And then was just kind of chatting with DJ about a bunch of stuff, and we had some good Wi-Fi, so was watching the Twitter and all the Twitter commentary that was going on. Seth, welcome back to the States. Yes, good to be home. I do deserve an ice cold beer. I'm just not quite ready for it yet. Your opinion on Mahomes' shot on his way out of bounds. I'm trying to think of what that means. Your opinion on Mahomes' shot on his way out of bounds. Oh, yes, the shot that he put on Dante Jackson. Yeah, I think it's a double standard, right? And it's some of the stuff that the defenders complain about. It's like if Mahomes is pulling up and Dante Jackson lays that lick, it's a 15-yard penalty. If Mahomes is pulling up and Dante Jackson pulls up and it's like, all right, he's going to step out of bounds, and then he drops his shoulder and hits, nothing happens. Like that's one where, and I think I said this, I might have said this last year, but it was when Mahomes pretended to go out of bounds and then got an extra 10 yards. I said, someone's got to punish him for that. That's on the next play. You take an illegal, late hit on him, and you let him know, don't ever do that again. And I think that's something, because he's a bit of a jerk about that stuff, where he'll take the extra yards, he'll try to bait you into hitting him out of bounds, and that's football. But I do think a solid hit from a guy like a Denzel Perriman or Derwin, who can really bring it. It can really remind him, hey, man, play it the right way, because you're not playing it the right way. And that's not playing it the right way with what he did there with Jackson. I thought it was Bush. And I wish someone, unfortunately, in the league would probably ban you for life if you dare try to take a cheap shot on him. But that's something that I was having this conversation with my daughter. She was she was saying, "Oh, who's the greatest? Is Tom Brady the greatest quarterback ever?" And I said, "Absolutely, he's the greatest quarterback ever. It's not even in a conversation." And she had said, "Oh, my boyfriend thinks it's Patrick Mahomes, different era." And I was like, "Yeah, different era. An era where you can't touch anybody. An era where wide receivers are free to run around the field without getting checked, or else they get a flag. Where quarterbacks don't get their heads taken off. And if they do, guys get booted out of games and fined $1 million. Like when Tom Brady was going, you could freaking plant your 2 screws right between his shoulder blades, and it was totally fine 2 seconds after he threw the ball. So I think maybe Mahomes needs a few of those, and that BS will stop. Same thing with Travis Kelce, trying to get a late shot in there. I'm tear tart, and again, like I said, I got on the plane and I just smiled, and I think he knew what I was laughing at. And just the open hand slap was so good. Welcome back, appreciate it. Safe and sound. I don't want to pause this. Hopefully, it's not paused. I think we're still going. Good. Oh, it came all the way to the end by accident. So let me get back up here. Where was I? Keenan. Yeah, we got a lot to get through here. Herbert, here we go. What else we got? I'm trying to find. Did the Chiefs make too many mistakes? Okay, I hadn't seen that yet. Made it back with all your organs. I did. I had a great trip, man. I had no concern. 2.5-hour drive from Sao Paulo to Chuquehi Beach, and drive was beautiful. Went through a little bit of a rough stretch there, a little bit of a rough patch of town for about 20 minutes of the 2.5 hours, and never felt like there was any issue. The people at the rental car place were super cool. They let me know about speed traps and how I can't go a single kilometer over the electronic camera, or else a cop will be on me like it's nothing. So everyone was cool, and Chuquehi was great. I would highly recommend the Airbnb I stayed at. It was right up the street from like the main drag in town. The cafe had the most incredible breakfast and coffee, and then steakhouse across the street. I think I posted a photo of our dinner. It was one of the greatest pieces of meat, greatest piece of steak I've ever had. And the waves were great. My man Tiago, who was just awesome. So that made the trip. Most definitely. The Brazilian beer, I tried something called Parma, I think was their local beer. And it's good. It's got kind of a little bit of a Belgian white kind of taste to it. A little bit of that spice kind of vibe, but it was really good. So here we go. Yes, now we're back to where we were at the Brazilian beer. Yeah, Parma, I think is what it's called. And really good. Need the Chargers to go to Ireland. I agree. I would love to be the team that play. Look, but you know me. I like traveling. So I'd love to be in Ireland. I do feel like Australia could be in the cards because we play the Rams next year as an away game. And I could totally see them taking both of us and doing a little LA, because obviously it's a trip to Australia. It's, anyway. Here we go. What do we got? You guys didn't choke. Congrats, but F the chart. Okay, that's probably a Raider guy. So you'll get yours on Monday. So back, thanks for doing these. Appreciate that. Realtor Ed. And nothing for love. Thank you, Baby Rock. How was the flight? Flight was great. Flight was great on the way down. Watched a couple episodes of Slow Horses. Fell asleep for 8 hours. Woke up all good on the way home. I think I fell asleep. I felt like kind of a fool, but I was so tired. I think Joe Ortiz was coming back to chat with us. Was talking to DJ, and next thing I know, I was up like 7 hours later. I think I just flat passed out, and it was great. And then the Wi-Fi was working, so I was watching a little bit of football. MVP performance by Herbo, no doubt, Alex. I mean, that's Herbert. He's one of the best throwers in the league. He's one of the best athletes in the league. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and that's what you get. 318 yards, average 9.4 per, 3 touchdowns, and a QB rating of 131.7. Mahomes threw 5 more passes, 5 more attempts for Mahomes than Herbert, and he threw for 258 yards as opposed to 318, a single touchdown. Yes, do that again. Do that over the first 3 weeks. Jump out to 3-0 in your division, and you're gonna have some of the best odds to win the MVP, no doubt. Chargers in Ireland, lad McConkey. Yeah, you would. You're absolutely right. Let's get it. Push the commissioner. I told him. I felt like I planted that seed with him. As a suck up, as a very good suck up. When we were talking to the commissioner, I gave him what he wanted. I was like, listen, unlike some people, Kamish, I got out, man. I got out in the city. I explored Brazil. I got a couple hours away from our hotel. What a place. What a glorious country. Got to take in what Brazil's all about. And DJ and I love traveling. I don't know what the players would say to you, but for us, send us every year. We take it. So hopefully he'll take my advice. The players will hate me. The beach did look great. Social, Joe, there we go. Joe at the end. Yeah, the beach was amazing. Water, it's so funny, man. Brazilians, dude. They're all in full suits, and I'm in trunks, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, it says the water's 71, is that right? And they're like, well, it's in Celsius for them, so they didn't know what the heck I was talking about. So I was a little nervous, and then as soon as I got in the water, I was like, this is warmer than any water I've been in this year out here in California. And they're in full suits, and literally one of the guys that was out there with us had to paddle in because he was too cold. I was like, this is too funny. But yeah, the beach was beautiful. It's crazy. Like you're looking at these houses, and the guy I was with was telling me, he's like, yeah, you see that house? That's the guy that owns Sulphur Bank. And it's like, these guys are, billionaires. And I think people forget that. They, see the movies about the favelas, and look, there certainly was that. We drove by a lot of that to get to the stadium, and it was sad. And it's a reminder of how good we have it here in America and how appreciative we should be that we were born here or that we live here, and that it's not like this everywhere, that it's a completely different looking place. And that was like that around the stadium. But I'm so happy that I was able to get to a beautiful part of Brazil, and just the beautiful people they are, and what they have to offer, because it was something. And like I said, that little strip, the bar that opens at 8 a.m. every day, closes at 10 every day, and is always packed. Those people were awesome. It was really cool. Raiders will kick your ass anywhere in the world. Well, I guess I don't know. I mean, last year they didn't kick the Chargers' ass in LA, and they didn't kick their ass in Vegas. So I guess whatever. I guess I don't know. I'll have to find where anywhere world is, because maybe that's what you're saying. It's a specific place called anywhere world. Don't know what continent, don't know what country, but we'll find. I'm getting a bull tattoo right now here in Sao Paulo. That would be fantastic if you were doing that. OC Bulldogs. I would love for that to be true. Got to run, but I want to say I surfed for the first time in my life this summer. I'm hooked. It was awesome. Next time you're out on Long Island, I'll hit you up. You know what, Dennis, if you're going to be surfing Long Island, maybe I'll come meet you on September 27th, I think. I think we play the Giants on the 28th, if I'm right. So I will be out there if there's waves. Yeah, September 27th. So maybe I'll see you out there. Dennis, I appreciate that invite. Robert, how do I feel the O-line played? I thought they played great. It was a clean pocket, man. Pass protection, I mean, obviously would like to see maybe the run game be a little bit better, but pass pro was exceptional. Zion had a heck of a game, man. Bozeman had a heck of a game. Becton had a heck of a game. Like, the O-line was sensational. That's a really tough Chiefs defensive line. I mean, Karlaftis is a heck of a pass rusher. Chris Jones is the best interior defensive lineman in the league, and they ran roughshod over him. So it was a heck of a performance by the offensive line. Herbert, I think, got pressured 6 times, 6 pressures over the course of a game against that front. It's pretty impressive. So, yes, I thought the O-line was great. Mekhi was really struggling, man. There was one, I'm sure you probably couldn't see it on the broadcast, but I mentioned it on our broadcast. The guy could barely walk coming off the field, and by the time he got to the bench, it was right before half. They had oxygen for him. I was like, that guy better be getting some serious IVs in the locker room, and yet he's out there busting his tail, blocking. I thought Mekhi and Joe Alt really, really played well. Let's see what else. Made it back with all my organs. Yes, no concerns about Brazil. I would recommend traveling there. Herbert for MVP. Chiefs make too many mistakes to cost them the game, or did the Chargers outplay them? I do think the Chargers most definitely outplayed them. I think the Greg Roman versus Steve Spagnuolo, and I don't think anybody would give the edge to Greg coming into this game after the way the offense played last year. It's a completely different team, completely different weapons, and what's available to Herbert now as opposed to just Ladd last year. So I don't think there's any doubt that if you were to say, how would you score the fight between Roman and Spags? Was it a knockout? I don't know if it was a knockout, but it was certainly a unanimous decision. So I think as far as mistakes, it's the first game of the year. We always hear about how Andy Reid has an advantage over every other team because of how hard they practice in training camp. Their guys play in preseason games, and that's certainly proven to be true. The Chiefs typically get off to quick starts. So I don't think there's any excuses about mistakes. Now, they lost Xavier Worthy early, and all that speed is a serious issue. That was a mistake. He and Travis Kelce just absolutely bonk into each other, and it knocks Xavier out of the game. I heard he was really messed up on the sideline. I was talking to somebody that was over there, and they said they were watching him have to shove his shoulder back in, and it was probably a dislocation. No Rashee Rice. So I think that, look, the Chiefs are still going to be great. They're still going to be in the mix to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. But I do think the Chargers most definitely outplayed them. And that's, mistakes are interesting, right? Like, they made mistakes because Patrick Mahomes was hell-bent on trying to prove that this offense was going to be explosive, like he said it was. And instead of taking what Jesse Minter's defense was giving him, which is too high, all that stuff underneath, he's trying to take shots down the field that just aren't there. There's too much pressure on him. He got hit on that one throw to Thornton when he beat Jackson. You had like Hollywood Brown drop that ball that would have gone for a touchdown. So, yeah, there's mistakes, but I also think that's football, man. You got to execute. There's bodies all around you. There's contact. You've got 22 players in motion, and weird things happen, and they didn't execute. So it's not necessarily mistakes so much as execute. The Chargers executed when they had to. When it's a 3rd and 16 and Herbert's ripping off that run to ice the game, that's executing. So, yeah, look, the field goal they made, tremendous execution by the special teams, right? To make sure you know exactly how much time you have, get that thing set up, 59-yard field goal, steal 3 points. Which receiver, Serge, which receiver will be active in the next game? They were all active in this game. So we'll see if they choose to do that again against the Raiders, or if they feel like, and I wouldn't surprise me, they appear to have some serious issues in their secondary. So it would not surprise me if they did the same thing, just spread it out. Let's attack the secondary. I predicted the Chargers would lose 4 games this season. What do you think? Don't know. It's a tough schedule. It's a really tough schedule. You've got another game against the Chiefs, 2 against a Bronco team that were in the playoffs, Washington, who made the NFC Championship, Minnesota, who won 14 games last year, Pittsburgh, who might on paper have the best defense in the league, Philadelphia, defending Super Bowl champions. We saw a Dallas team that was very competitive offensively against Philadelphia, a Houston team that beat them up in the playoffs last year. It's a tough schedule. But I think this team can beat anybody. I think they proved that yesterday. What's with the Chiefs hurting their own players? Yeah, last year Mahomes hurts Rice. This year Kelce. I know, that is kind of funny, Eric. Weird how that happens. Friendly fire. Good audio. Oh, wow, I'm that far behind. Well, I'll say this. Clay Sellers, do you think Herbert's beginning to understand how much more of a threat he runs? Herbert always ran. Last year he didn't, and had a conversation with Greg Roman about 2 months ago, and he had mentioned, he's like, yeah, Herbert was a lot worse off than he let on. He was in no shape to be running. That he really fought through some serious S to get out there week in and week out with the plantar injury, followed by that high ankle sprain that he said probably should have kept him out a month. But Herbert's that guy. He's like, no, I'm just going out and we'll figure it out. So I think what you're seeing is a healthy Herbert. And when you see a healthy Herbert, he knows that he's got the advantage to get those runs in. And like I said, arguably the best play was on that 1st and 20 when he ripped off that 23-yard run that got called back for the hold. I did not have that drink, Norm. The Caparina, is that how you say it? I did not. I was kind of on an early schedule a little bit, so I was up, at 6 a.m. to go surfing that next morning. I got there Wednesday, immediately rented a car, immediately drove to Jacahey, surfed until about 6, 7 o'clock. We went straight to a steakhouse for dinner, had a beer, had that Parma, and then had to be up early the next morning at about 5:45 to hit the waist by 6 so I can get a couple hours in before I had to drive back up. So did not have a chance. And then once I was up with the hotel, I was doing all kinds of stuff with the team. How was the grub? The grub was, yes, amazing. Whatever that steakhouse is, I can't remember the name of it. I'd recommend it. It's one of the best meals I've had in a long time. He brought out like this this thin, almost like a wasn't steak tartare, but it was very thinly sliced steak that was just seared and was very, just kind of raw in the middle. And man, it was good. It was incredible. Field was way better, Statman, and I was a little nervous. I was watching Thule warm up, and when he was planting in the end zone, kind of running his lines, it was digging up pretty bad. So I was a little nervous about that, but otherwise, and they flew out the guy from Philadelphia because they use the same turf that the Packers and the Eagles use. So I guess they flew out the guy that takes care of the turf in Philly, and they said that he took care of it. That's what I'm name dropping here. Goodell said. Hampton looked like he had some nervousness. I think that's fair, Millie. Yeah, I think Hampton did look like it's my first game. He's not a guy that's going to run out of bounds when you have to get down. I think that's just, and I heard some people saying, 22-year-old has gone to college and doesn't know any better. Well, look, man, I think we've all been through that. When I was on college radio and did that for 4 years, yeah, man, I freaked out when I turned on the mic at K-Rock for the first time. My heart felt like it was out here as opposed to in my chest. So, yeah, it's your first NFL game. Of course you're going to be a little nervous, and when you're nervous, you don't process like you normally do. Any update on Perriman? I do not have that surge. How do you feel our O-line played? Yep, talked about that a little bit, Robert. I thought they played great. Nice to see you yesterday. Kevin, right on. Love stopping by. It was great to see you down there in the end zone. Love seeing all that. There were a good amount of Bolt fans that made the trip. Crazy. I can't imagine flying that far for a game, but good for you guys to take in Brazil and get out of there with a win. It was so much fun. Alt was a wall. He was incredible. Do you think so-and-so is starting to... Oh, yeah, we already got that one. You put that one in again. Keenan and Ladd on third down. Yeah, exactly, Robert. Keenan was Keenan. The captain's back. So he was fantastic on third down. And so is Ladd. And a lot of that is also the way that they drew that up and the way they were calling those plays. I know DJ was super impressed with what Greg Roman was dialing up. And how he was taking advantage of what was being given to him. Herbert running is an absolute weapon. Tier is having awesome. Love that dude. Yeah, he's one of my favorites too. He's got a couple daughters, so we would chat about that. And just happy for circumstance is so important in the NFL. And for whatever reason, didn't work out for him. In Miami, they decided to cut a guy that's super talented, and Chargers immediately went and got him. And he's found a home, and teammates love him. And good for him, man. A Dave Schultz open hand slap. Here we go. Oh, wow. I remember seeing the Ryan Clark as a Moran a while ago. Look, that's what those guys do. They say ridiculous things, so people will mention their name. I've never been able to do that. It's probably why, I'm here and not there in a suit on a show like that. That and a lot of other reasons, because I look like this. But the point is, they do that for clicks. And I think it's unfortunate, but that's the business. They are in the business of getting eyeballs and getting conversation around their statements. So they say stupid things. I think in the case of Ryan Clark, he just says some really lunk-headed things, like life things that are dumber than just dumb sports takes. So, but anybody that would put on a brooch or a lapel pin that has your initials is probably not somebody I'd want to spend too much time with anyway. This, by the way, is what you want to do. My friends over at JS down in Oceanside, that's what I like wearing. That guy is a bum. I assume you're talking about Clark. Surfing, I did surf surge. It was great. Got a couple days in. Herbo on a mission. Preach money on Clark. Yeah, Clark just a hater. Wow, a lot of people. But see, that's what he wants. Like, he's fine with this. He's totally fine with, that's what all these people are. They try to craft, what's my position? What'll be my calling card? And that's what I need to be known for. And they just beat it over and over and over again. And it works. Like, I know I got no problem with Nick Wright. He's fine. But like the whole LeBron is king, Jordan is trash, Mahomes forever, like that's his thing. And it's just, he's going to keep playing the hits. And then people, what are they going to do? Mahomes gets outplayed by Herbert. They're going to immediately try to go to him and call him out. And he loves it because he gets attention. And that in turn earns him money because people want guys that can move the needle for saying stupid things, and I've just never been able to say stupid things. I say plenty of stupid things, but not intentionally, is my point. Yeah, thanks to Madison Beer. Hey, maybe there's something to that, I did see this, though, and I do think it makes sense. Not that I'm very familiar with her. I mean, is there a more eligible bachelor than freaking Justin Herbert? I mean, look at the guy. Look at him, right? And if you want to, be someone that feels secure in the presence of your partner, the guy's 6'6", 250 pounds, good-looking dude. He's smart. Won the academic Heisman. He's making $55 million a year. You get to live in Los Angeles. Pretty good catch. Whoever's able to land that thing. Nothing against the credentials of Madison Beer, but I think maybe if it were me, I'd probably say that's the scales of not justice, but the scales of relationship. I'm gonna go. Herbert's kind of got a little more weight on this one. Amazing play. Concerned that Herbert takes pretty good shots. Nah, he's so much bigger than everybody else. Looks like he has something to prove, perhaps. Deshaun Hand played great. You're right, Robert. He had great push. I'm on my TV, right? I'm on the FanDuel right now with Lowe. Yeah, that was a rough one. We were both dealing with Brazilian internet, but we wanted to get the show up and get the pregame going. So we'll be back this week from our normal digs. The Ranger, yeah, love Dayon. What a great game. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but in that game last year, he nearly had Mahomes for that sack that they lost by a point. And I remember after the game, he was talking about how if I just had that sack, we would have won that game. I know it. I just know it. And he got it. And it was a big one. What are you looking for watching the Raiders game tomorrow as the guys prepare to head to Vegas? What would I be looking for? Well, I guess probably how the secondary plays would be the first thing, just because we know Pete Carroll can coach the heck out of secondary, and he made it work with, mid to late round guys like Brandon Browner and Richard Sherman and Taekwon and Tariq, what's his last name? Willis was the guy at UTSA. So I think it's on paper one of the least talented secondaries in the league. Like that, even if you consider the linebackers, like that back seven, I think you look at it and you're like, wow, you can make some hay against that. But but Pete coaches that particular position group up really well. So I think that's probably the side of the ball, because you're going up against Drake May, who I think is going to be a great quarterback. Mike Vrabel, who I think is an exceptional coach. I think he would have been the Chargers coach if Harbaugh didn't take the job. So if Drake May is able to pick them apart, then I think you feel pretty good about that being a true weakness of that team and being able to get after them a little bit. So that's probably what I'll be watching in that one. Pacheco usually runs like a madman. Shut that down, no doubt. Run defense I thought was great. Seeing KC offense and defense, yeah, exactly. I'm with you there. The fact that Kelsey is yelling at Jawan Taylor. And look, Jawan Taylor's terrible. He's terrible, man. I went back and watched those two games from last year. That guy is holding, he has to hold Joey Bosa 7 to 8 times in that game. Like, I'm talking full hold, drag down, and there's no flag. He holds on every play. He false starts on every play. He's not a good old lineman. So I was beyond ecstatic to see him get 2 holding penalties and 2 false starts, because he's terrible. And the guy should be whistled for that all the time. I think the Chargers busted them up pretty good on pressures. If I remember right, I'll pull it up right now. Let's see. Chiefs, pass protection stats. According to PFF, 3 pressures for Suamatia, 4 for Simmons, 3 for Jawan Taylor. Yeah, they got him pretty good, man. And then the defense, of course, screaming and yelling at each other. I don't remember. Was that? I think it was that for the. Yeah, it was after Herbert scrambled, because Chris Jones was, he was selfish. He tried to rush inside and make the hero play, and it opened that lane, and Herbert made him pay for it. I wanted Harrison, but I ain't a GM. Oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, that would have been an interesting one. That would have been a real interesting one if they decided to take Malik Neighbors in Arizona, and if Marvin Harrison Jr. was there because of the relationship that that Jim Harbaugh had while he was with the Colts with Marvin Harrison. So that would have been an interesting one. What else we got? It was against Pacheco money, and he hit sticked his ass. Yes, it was Pacheco that Derwin hit, and you could hear it up in the booth, and we were on the 10th floor and couldn't really see that well. Deion did look great. Welcome back, God of Thunder. I appreciate that. A lot of welcome backs. You're on my TV right now with Lowe. Yep. Conklin sneak. That was so great, man. I was so happy with that. Conklin's fun to be around, too. And look, Herbert doesn't like taking sneaks. I get it. Not all court. Phillip hated it, man. He's like, every time, man, dango, every time I take one of them dango sneaks, just guys grabbing at me, pulling on your fingers and trying to break your fingers and stuff. So that part I get. But, yes, that was really cool. It was a great call by Greg Roman. And by the way, man, they were getting absolutely hosed on spots. From where we were, that first down that Q had, they marked it like a half yard short. And we're sitting there next to the coach's booth like, hey, man, tell Harbaugh you've got to challenge that play. And instead they go for it on fourth down, and thank God it worked out. That was a bad spot. I think that interception, we had no monitors. It was a bit of a mess on that front. We had no monitors in that game. But I thought that was a Dante Jackson interception. They didn't want to challenge that. I thought Mahomes was clearly over the line of scrimmage when he made that third down throw, and they didn't want to challenge that. Bring Keenan back turned out to be the key to the season. Yeah, I asked Coach that before the game. I was like, these games are typically tight against the Chiefs. What's the difference in having someone like Keenan? And, it's an obvious answer. It was an obvious question. It's just a way to give Keenan some love. But, Coach said the obvious. He's like, well, he's not going to be wide-eyed, I can tell you that. His heart rate's not going to go up. He's been through it before, so when you have someone that's kind of in that sort of mental state, obviously it goes a long way. And, yeah, Keenan had a huge game. Thoughts on Q? Yeah, I know. And you know what? Yes, did he drop it in the end zone? It was defended. The defender had his hand on his jersey, tugged on that a little bit, got his hand on the limb, but it did hit him in his hands. Should he have caught it? Sure. I don't care. Guy had 2 touchdowns and caught 5 of his 7 targets for 79 yards. Totally fine with that performance. Did you have a drop? Yep. You know what else you had? 2 touchdowns as wide receiver 3. Your wide receiver 3 led the team in yards and touchdowns and is on pace for 32 touchdowns this season. So, and not to mention had a 33-yard reception, dusted a safety to get into the end zone. Totally fine. Q's going to be great this year. Welcome back. Shout out from Denmark. Mads, I wish we could play in Denmark. I would absolutely love to get out there. Totally agree. Keenan going to be great with Q. Exactly right. Lad going to learn so much with Keenan. Yeah, dude. Troy Dye. Yeah, look, Troy played great last year. Remember, Denzel was hurt last year, and Troy played really well. So, I think if you have him out there with Deion to start the game, and Marlowe Wax is going to rotate in, Denzel just brings a level of physicality that very few guys have. He hits like a freaking bolt of lightning, pardon the pun. So hopefully he's okay, and he'll be out there on Monday, especially with Ashton Genty out there. A little welcome to the league from Denzel Perriman would be kind of fun. Congrats on the win. Raiders waiting. Yeah, Baby Rock's still in here. I'd worry about the Patriots if I were you, Baby Rock. Got my season tickets, my radio to have you in my ears during the game. Thank you, Mellow Gatsby. I appreciate that. Always appreciate that. Thoughts on special teams allowing big returns? Yeah, I think they made the play. Like I said, the play they made, that Ja made was pretty great. It was one of the more important plays of the game. But yes, the returns. Probably, they averaged, what did they average? 29.4. There are so many new players on that unit that Ryan Ficken's working with. When you look out there and just give him a second, give him a second to settle in. I thought JK punted the ball really well. I mean, what did he average? 53 yards a punt. There were only 2 punts, but was able to flip the field out of his own end zone and put the Chiefs back at their own 40. And then just had a ton of hang time on that one that Ja was able to work as the gunner for no gain. I think it was 51 for no gain. So stick from Henley on Mahomes. Yeah, look, he was a spy. That's your responsibility. Do not let him get away. And Henley was able to get the sack. Dye had a big hit on Mahomes. Yeah, that was a good one too. He was able to sneak that one in. Can't wait for it with How Was Your Weekend? Well, you're hearing a lot of it here. Although my daughter's playing a show in about an hour, so I'm probably going to have to jump off here. Go down to the Seal Beach Arts Festival where she's going to be playing. And again, I like these. I know it's not beer, guys, but I got a cool little vibe going from this whole GABA, whatever they call it. I don't know, what do they call that stuff? The wife knew. She was like, oh, yeah, that's supposed to make you feel a little... That's gone. All right, so let's finish these up. Exactly. Push to the face after he knocked him down. As you should. Finish the play, right? Lucky to have Sawyer and Dye. Yeah, no doubt. Look, guys get hurt. Got to have depth. This team's deep. Chiefs look a lot different with refs not only not throwing bailout flags, but how about actually calling Juwan Taylor for being the offensive lineman that he is, which is below average. I don't know which receiver would be inactive next game. They got them all involved. Highly recommend both Ireland and Australia, my friend Kyle. You could probably recommend anything, and I'd want to go. I like going to see new places. That's my deal. What's Tranquil's deal? I think he was all right. Cool dude with us, and now kind of suck. No, he doesn't suck, Seth. Drew's one of my favorite people we've ever had on the Chargers. He's as good a guy as you'll ever be around. Look, Chargers didn't offer him a contract. Brandon Staley wanted Eric Kendricks instead. Drew wanted to stay. It was one of the most baffling decisions I've ever seen, ever. And he kept Kendricks in there to play over Dan Henley. Eric Kendricks was a heck of a linebacker, but it was clearly gone by the time he got here. And he chose him at 3 times the cost of what the Chiefs paid Tranquil. And that's stupid. But Drew's an awesome guy. Truly one of the absolute great guys that I've been around on the team. Just a genuinely good person. Next KC in-game scene December going to be a cold one. It is. And it's also going to be on a short week coming off playing the Eagles. So thanks, NFL. Appreciate that one. Slap tart. Brazilian waves were fun. They weren't that big. They were supposed to be a little bit bigger. I was excited from the forecast. They were a little bit smaller than that, but they were still fun. Yeah, dude, Mike, no, I'm not taking any of the Tranquil slander. Chiefs coming out late after halftime was crazy. It shouldn't have pissed you off, Kurt. Like, the referees did not cut them any slack. They forced Butker to tee that thing up while they still had 3 members of their staff on the field running across. One guy had to sprint out of the end zone. They kicked that thing off while like 2 or 3 of their coaches were still behind the goalpost because they had to run off the field. So that's just bad on them, man, not having their S together. Funny that Tart posted on his Insta the Dave Rick James slap skit. Yeah, it was so great. The surf was great, Brewster. I highly recommend it. It was great. The water was warm. The waves were fun. Plenty big enough. But yeah, bigger would have been cool. Should have been given a delay penalty for that dumbass Raiders fans. So funny. I know they are. But we love them. You know, it's nice to have a rival. There isn't anywhere in Oklahoma. Well, there we go. Ovo Diesel, appreciate that. Perhaps if the Chargers and Raiders played in anywhere Oklahoma, the Raiders would beat them because they certainly couldn't figure it out in Las Vegas or Los Angeles last year. Cheers to you. I did rent the car, Kevin. I rented a car from a place called Localiza. I played it smart. I didn't want to, even though it was very inexpensive. It was like $40 to rent the car. With full insurance. They were like, do you want the full insurance? And I was like, yeah, I'll take the full insurance. And they're like, well, just so you know, it'll be a little bit more expensive. And they were like, it's 60 reals. And I was like, okay. Conversion. Oh, it's like $7 for a full insurance on the rental car. And the people were super cool. Gave me directions of which way I should go, what I should avoid, how to drive. That people on motorcycles and mopeds are insane. So don't get freaked out if they're like right up next to you and cutting you off. Anyway, it was great. Yes, I did rent the car. I'm not sure. Jim outsmarted the Walrus, thinking we'd be running. Yeah, possibly. Totally possible because that's the way they played last year. Was trying to be run heavy. 24 carries for 9. It was 20. I think it was 24 carries for like 91 yards last year. And in this game, they ran it 25 times, passed it 34 times. So that was great. Herbert looked great. Just going to try to scroll through a lot of these guys. Yeah, I don't know if Slater lost his left tackle position, but maybe that just makes more sense. You put Alt at left and Slater at right, and you still have the best tackle tandem in the league. Yeah, exactly. That's what we were talking about, Evan. Evan. That's on Greg Roman and Sanjay Lal to make that work. That Keenan Allen and Ladd are both slot guys, but they constantly said Ladd's not a slot guy. He's fine outside, but the way they used those guys was great. Thank you, Felix. Thanks for being cool about a Raider fan. Smack Talk, love you guys, even if you're the voice of the enemy. I appreciate that. Exactly. Just having some fun, man. It's football. You're a fan of a team. We're a fan of a team. Let's go out there and have some fun. Drink some beers together and enjoy it. Doesn't have to be all serious. It's, our escape. It's the escape from the drudgery of our daily lives. Let's not make it a nightmare. Freaking all angry and physical. Enjoy it. Everyone expected the Chargers to run, play action work. Last year, ground and pound, expecting the same. Do you think the injury to Slayton changes the offense to Slater? No, I don't think so. I don't think it changes. I love waffle, love SoCal. Delicious. I wish I had one of those right now. Does it change? Yeah, it changes, I think, but I thought it was going to change in that they were going to have to play those 4 tight ends and constantly have either Tucker Fisk or Will Dissly or both over there and a fullback on that right side of the line. But instead they were like, we're just going to spread it out, let Herbert cook and go to work. Chances Chargers go 3-0 while the Chiefs. Now look, the Chiefs got Philadelphia, man. They got Philadelphia on a shorter week than Philadelphia. Philadelphia's going to have the extra day of rest. And is Xavier Worthy going to be ready? No Rashee Rice. They most definitely could be 0-2. Hate that the Bolts play less. Yeah, I know. It's Friday Night Lights. It is a bit of a bummer. And I was keeping track of Sandy and Biggins and all those guys. It looked like Bosco had a bit of a rough go with St. Francis, but still got the win. So, yes, I hear you. Not ideal. Herbert's allowed to call a timeout. You're talking about the 5-yard penalty on the delay of game. The play clocks were in really weird places there. It was. I think it was kind of hard to find them. So that may be why they took that 5-yard penalty. Shanna did not take me to a Brazilian strip club. No, I was a solo adventurer. The other folks didn't want to leave. I was like, you guys are crazy. This country's awesome. I'm getting out there. But I was the only one that did that. How much more do we got? I got to kind of call this thing because I got to get out of here. Live stream available on Spotify? I don't think so. I usually save it here though, Sal. So I'll save it, post it, so it'll be available. Oh, I see what you're saying. The live stream of our call, that I don't know. I've got to get the answer to that. Celebrate at Ballast Point. I'm going to celebrate at the Seal Beach Arts and Crafts Fair, which I have to get out of here in a couple minutes to go help the daughter set up. How disappointed. This is a good one. Trill Watterson. How disappointed are peeing cakes that you made it home without a scratch? Probably a little bit. I think they would have liked me to obviously not be harmed, but maybe to get my watch stolen or something, or have somebody steal my shoes or a little bit of a shakedown, freak me out a little bit, rough me up, little black eye or, I don't know, busted lip or something like that. I'm sure they would have loved that. It would have been funny too. It would have made for a much better story, right? All right, what else we got? Let's see. Shout out from Denmark. Juwan Taylor, 10 false starts. You're not exaggerating. You're right about that. This was a first down, not an interception either. Was the ball clearly on the ground? Yeah, see, I haven't watched it back. You know what? Let's watch it real quick. Let's go. PFF Ultimate, filters, Chargers, and passes defensed. Where are you? Tracking, coverage, breakdown. I need to find it. Darn it, where is it? Here we go. Let's see if I can get some pass breakups. Do we have those? Here we go. PBUs. Dante Jackson. Let me see if this is the one. Yeah, I have not been able to watch this yet. Oh, no, this is the one he should have had a pick six on. Gosh, look at this, man. Oh, that thing was a pick six when they got the field goal at the end of the half. Sometimes they'll have dropped interceptions. Oh, here it is. Here's the dropped interception. Okay. Oh, no, I bet that's the same one. I bet it's the same. Yeah, it's the same one. Darn it, they don't have that one. So that's maybe it'll be under his tackles. Well, no, because they didn't catch it. Shoot. Let me go key plays. See if it's under key plays. Yeah, quarter one. Let's try this one. See if it's this one. Yeah, here he is. He's over here. No, that was the one he slapped out of Brown's hand that should have gone for a touchdown. Is it this one? Quarter two. No, that ain't it. Shoot, sorry, man. I wish I could see it, but if you say you had the replay, so maybe. But for me, from where I was, the little bit we could see on the scoreboard, it looked like he popped that thing up in the air and was able to secure it. Appreciate that, J.D. Thompson. I still have both kidneys, yes. Cheap shot from Mahomes was a wuss move, agree, 100%. Should have been flagged. Army crawl is still annoying. Thank God. I'm not going to address that one, J.D. You know I love Tom. And Tom is the one who drafted Herbert when a lot of people weren't entirely sold on him. And that's the truth. So I think that the fact that he's the guy that drafted Herbert, just be thankful. And Tom's a good dude. My ex-wife is Brazilian. She's from the state of Rio, though. She lives here in New Orleans, so lucky you. I'm sure she's wonderful because everybody I've met there was wonderful. All right. What's with the Chiefs coming out late at the half? I got into that. 2 birthday boys, Pip and QJ. Yeah, mahalo for everything. Mahalo. All right, I think I'm going to call it, guys. Appreciate y'all. I got to get out of here. Monday Nighter. Do it again, and this time I'll try to do it from Vegas that night because this one we just had to get out of there. They were like, guys, we got 60 minutes to get on the bus. We got to get wheels up by a certain amount of time because we had to go through the Sao Paulo airport. It wasn't like we usually get the bus right up to the plane and get out of there. It was different because we were in Brazil. So just wanted to get this knocked out, but you guys are awesome. Oh, look at that. I did get to the end. Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. You're all great. We'll do it again next week. Chargers 1-0. Feels good, man. That was one of the best games. Truly one of my absolute favorite games that I've ever called for the Chargers. I thought it was one of Herbert's best games. I do not like the Chiefs. They have 7 straight games, and all of them have been such heartbreaking, losses in a heartbreaking manner. So that was fun. And we beat them out of the stadium, too. So, and it was not easy getting out of the stadium. Harbaugh was like, 60 minutes, guys, let's go. We got to get out of here in an hour. Chiefs were dragging ass. So by the time that, we got out, their buses were still parked there. We get to the airport, we can see our custom setup and their table, and their 2 logistics people are just sitting there like, where are our guys? And we're just blazing right through and getting out of there and got home nice and early. I landed at like 10 o'clock. So 2 victories as far as I'm concerned. All right, everyone, enjoy your Saturday. Good luck to the Bruins. Good luck to, are the Bruins playing today? Good luck to the Trojans. Let's see what's going on with college football right now. Anything exciting? I know Iowa State was kind of tight. However, that might have ended up. I don't think we have much going on today, do we? Don't think we have great games. Anything? Look at that. Iowa State with the win. Illinois gets a big win. Wow. Baylor with the upset over SMU. Florida State, a close one. So, all right. Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate y'all. Have a great one.